Good morning. We got a quorum now. I believe we do have a quorum now. So we will at least call the roll. Well. Okay, so we'll continue on with our presentation and then we'll come back to item 1 or 2 and call it.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, Board of County Commissioners. My name is Maggie Stachichin. I'm the Director of DSS Durham. This is Lee Littles. He is our interim Assistant Director of Aging and Adult Services. And today we're going to present on 2 issues, our emergency rental assistance and then also the low income housing. The purpose of this presentation is to really highlight the critical state that we're in right now with housing in Durham. With housing assistance, we had an influx of millions of dollars from the federal government during COVID. That money is now almost gone. We'll present on that and where we stand with that today. And then where we're going to be going towards the future without that funding. So that was the purpose of this presentation today. So I'll hand it over to Lee.
Good morning, City Council and Mayor, and also County Commissioner. Wanted to present for our emergency rental assistance eviction diversion program.
Do we have a little clicker?
No.
So you don't have to use the mouse. We usually have a little clicker so folks can stand at the podium so you can see. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
In 2018, Durham County has had the highest number of evictions per capita. Durham County has a rental rate of 48% and a median rental rate of 1,162, according to the 2021 census. Currently, the rental rate has changed because of the rental heights in Durham County, where the average 2-bedroom rental is close to about $1,400 per month for a 2-bedroom. In this slide, you will actually see with the collaboration of the county and city and state, 5 programs outside of Durham County, traditional eviction diversion and opening doors programs was stood up since 2020. The whole program, CDBG and ERAP 1.0, also ERAP 2.0, North Carolina Pro. We're currently still running our opening doors in our eviction diversion program that continues to happen and is funded by the county. In this slide, prior to the pandemic, Durham County DSS has allocated approximately $180,000 for eviction diversion assistance yearly. This is prior to the pandemic. But in 2020, with the pandemic, we provided since then $26 million in assistance for rental. That includes opening doors and evictions. It's critical to understand the amount of funding that has been dispersed in the Durham community to address affordable housing, homelessness, and the lack of rental control. This is not just a Durham problem, this is a nationwide problem.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kelly Hinman, Chief Operations Officer for DSS. The next few slides are really just going through our funding by year for the different grant programs that we've been administering. And as you can see, through year-to-date 24, this total is $26 million of dollars that have been funneled into our community for rental assistance. And then these are the Durham County funds that went directly to the clients over the past 4.5 years. and that totals 1.5 million. Okay, and this is just a breakdown of what has gone to clients, the admin expenses, and the total grant allocations for these 5 different funding sources that Lee mentioned. And so where we are as of July 31st, we have $1.98 million left in this funding.
Currently, our allocations to each month has been around 175,000 of rental assistance. Last month, we did have a slight drop off from 175 to 130. That's due to staffing allocations and going directly towards our mandated programs for the county. So, trends since NC Pro launch, many applicants have exhausted their federal ERAP rental assistance. Many applicants actually owe 5 or more months in rent that we have noticed. So when we see the applications, they're not just behind 1 month or 2, they're close to 4 to 5 months behind in rent, which is making their average assistance amount by $5,402. Many applicants have seen a 20% increase in rent every year since 2021. According to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, a full-time worker that's receiving minimum wage with hourly wage would need to earn at least $24 an hour or $28 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom household. Currently, these are recommendations moving forward. Durham County and the city need to partner to increase some of the increased funding to ensure housing stability for Durham residents. History and data has also shown us that in a large scale problem, all these demographics in the county and city will need to be addressed, but at some point we may need to focus on some of the age population and the disabled population that have fixed income, and also the low earners at 50% AMI and under. Any questions?
Thank you so much. I'll open it up to colleagues for questions. Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Lee, for this presentation. I had a couple of questions, mostly just for my education. Thank you for bringing all of the numbers. I love looking at numbers. On slide 4, for the important considerations, well, this kind of goes with slide 4 through 6. So we received total 27 million in federal dollars. And our goal, and like, we've been keeping on track that all of the money that we've received through federal will have gone out to residents. Like because I know there's some other counties and cities that weren't able to get it out fast enough before the deadline. Thank you, Lucio. Weren't able to get it out fast enough with the federal deadlines. I want to make sure we did. And then there was a time also that it was either I think it was the city with their ERAP funds, maybe not the county, that there was a partnership with like legal aid they were administering out the ERAP funding, but that's no longer the case. Now it's all internal through DSS, right?
So last year, I believe the city did have a program. Those numbers are not included in these slides that they have administered out with legal aid.
Okay. And then my last question was for slide 9, the trends since the NC Pro launched. So those numbers of like the applicants owing 5 or more months of rent. That's since the program is launched, do we have the data of what those numbers were like before that program? Were people owing more? Had more like back pay and rent that was due before the program was launched, so that we can actually show like, yeah, it's still 5 months, but it's better than the 10 months that they did. Oh,
Yeah,
and like, so,
we do not have those numbers because before the actual assistance amounts for the federal government, we had a cap in how much we will provide in terms of, rental assistance. So, if it was over a certain amount, and you could not, stabilize or afford it moving forward, we would not assist with the county. But under the federal guidelines, you were able to do it, so we did not track that.
okay. Okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you. So I feel like y'all done a great job of laying out the problem. We got this huge influx of federal money. It's clear our community really needed it. We spent it and now we don't have it anymore. We're not likely to come up with this kind of money locally. This is, sort of beyond the scope of what either the city or the county can do. So what do we do? I mean, it feels like I don't know what, are y'all recommending a particular course of action? Are we just doomed? It feels like we're not in a position to really make much of an impact at this point.
So my advice would be is to get all the appropriate parties in a room and the agencies. There's other agencies in the county and city that can help and support this, and actually their main focus is housing. Ours is not. So what we do know is that the money is no longer there, and what we do know is that the money is needed. We also can look at the data that we've collected and show which areas in Durham, as we said, populations disabled, the aged, and the income under 50% AMI and unsheltered are the majority of populations we would want to focus on. But I do understand that, money is an issue, but I think there's other things to do as well with that. And that's one is to advocate possibly for the rents not to keep increasing, but those are things. This is not just a DSS problem, it's a community problem. And I think the best idea moving forward is to get those agencies in a room and really sit down and think our way through this. With the funding that we know that we have, and the vouchers that come in from the federal government.
Are there any existing collaborations between like DSS and the city and community, housing department and DHA? Is that already happening, or this would be like a new effort to try to get everybody talking?
There will be a new effort in regards to rental assistance. We do have a collaboration on 2 of our other programs, which is LIHR, the low income homeowner relief program, and the HOPWA program. But nothing directly focused on rental assistance.
Okay. Thank you. That's a really good suggestion. And yeah, we should definitely make that happen.
yeah, Howard.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this report. So
We had one more. Did you all want us to do the low income?
let's go ahead and I'll ask my question after that.
I actually think we should talk about this first because they're really separate.
Okay.
Okay. I think you answered most of my questions that I had there. Do I need to bring them back? Is it on? All right, I think you answered the question. What I was gonna ask was about the data. Looks like we're running out of money. And do we have the data of the next 3 to 5 years projection of whether we are going to be increasing in the number of citizens that are going to need the support? Do we have any data that shows anything about what's the projection?
Yes, there are some trends that's happening in terms of eviction, so the eviction rate in Durham has not decreased, it's continuously rising, because of the high rent. I don't have those here for you, but I can definitely make sure we can give you the trends in terms of the gradual increase of evictions since 2020.
And the other question I have, is the data showing it's more senior related? Single parent household, what is the data showing in relation to? Our citizens?
It is showing, it's kind of across the board, one seniors, because they on a fixed income. So there's no way they can compensate for it, they can't get back in the workforce. And we also talking about single parent, household. That we see in terms of applicants that come across, and we also seeing a high number of high school graduates without a college degree. That's working minimum wage jobs.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much to our DSS team. This was presented to our board, well, first to the DSS board, then to our board, and now to all of us, because we are about to drop off a cliff. I mean, that's what the numbers are showing us. We've had a huge amount of money. As Councilmember Johnson said, we can't replicate 26 million, but we have to do something. Basically the end of the year, December, we're gonna run out of money. This money, we have about 1.5 million left. And so that gives us, we're in October now, so we've got 3 months. And so I really would like to ask that our city and county managers follow up on these recommendations and convene all of our, respective staff. Plus, it was mentioned some of the community organizations, legal aid. And we've got, I see land trust folks here. We've got, Housing for New Hope. There's a lot of partners. We have a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge. I know you all in the city do a lot of work around landlord engagement. And then look at what funding and resources we have. We still have ARP money. A little bit, Claudia's giving me a look, but some of the money that we may not use for broadband, right, that we may have the opportunity to allocate, but as Lee mentioned, I went to an event that was held at the main library with the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit. And there is I don't have it with me, but a great data sheet about Durham, which is that almost half of our residents are renters, but then it's over 50% of our renters are really vulnerable because they're spending more than 30% of what they have on their rent. So anyway, that's my request, is that we get everyone together and come up with some things that we can do to try to help the people in our community. So I'd like to hear, I guess, about those next steps.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I apologize for being delayed. I would say that I want us to do a more holistic look at housing, because I don't think it's appropriate for us to try and replicate $26 million in crisis. Just knowing that was payments to landlords. That didn't help the person who was facing that situation. And so I would like us to actually think about a more reparative process. Just looking at folks in their situations and trying to figure out how to mitigate for the long term, as opposed to just for 3 to 4 months. I realize that people are gonna be behind, but we can't just focus on housing. That's been the problem, and that just pays landlords. If we focus on exactly where folks are, who are facing the crisis, in a more holistic way, I think we could actually alleviate some of the pressures, whether it's transportation or it's childcare. And I think those are all services that, the city and the county are involved with. So it can't just be housing people in the room. It has to be actually everybody in the room. Who cares about the people in this community who are been displaced or being displaced with evictions. I think that those conversations need to be localized. Because folks in 27704 have different issues and different concerns than those in 27712. And so if we could do more focus look at those conversations, and then also just really, if we're gonna talk about housing, we can't just talk about it as a whole, because seniors need 1 bedroom, or 2 bedrooms, and families of 4 need 4 or 5 bedrooms. And so these, or, like they need a number of bedrooms. So these conversations need to be a little bit more dynamic, and I'm excited to have those conversations in the next few months. I don't think it's gonna help those folks who are facing eviction, and that's the problem. I don't think offering the 26 million helped them with evictions. It just pushed the problem a year out, so we actually have to tackle the issue. And then part of the issue, I know from where I sit, is usually around race and racism, classism, abilityism. Like, there are specific issues we have to tackle so that people actually have income to take care of themselves. I can leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Freeman. I too want to just add a couple of remarks to this conversation, and thank you for your presentation this morning. It's always kind of hard hitting when you see what's going on out in the city in terms of all of this building. And then you really are faced with the fact that most of the people who need housing right here in the city cannot afford what's being built. And so we have to reckon with that. I do think that there has to be some pointed conversations about and directed conversations about around the people who can actually make a change and make a difference. And we cannot leave out those who are being affected by the decisions. So there has got to be conversations within the community itself about how we help. Because at the end of the day, 26 million went somewhere. That's a lot of money. Right, and a part of that, only 1.9 million of that was administrative expenses. So most of that was the clients were passed through. They reaped the benefits of being able to stay in the homes that they had or the housing that they had. But at the end of the day, $26 million, it went out. And so though I am in agreement with Councilwoman Freeman, that's not sustainable. I do not think that is a good way to react outside of a crisis. We had a crisis situation. We are no longer in that crisis, but there has got to be some other ways. And we have a lot of information out there right now around the city of Durham. In particular, that the city council did the deep dive in housing. We're about to hire 2 young people who will translate that information into a usable format or formats. You also have the conversations that have been going on with the Durham Realtors that's been led by Councilwoman Freeman. You also have some other information. Kamisha Wallace and a team from the city have been working with Bloomberg initiatives for the last year. They will complete their interactions with Bloomberg in October, where they focused in on the folks who have been just as involved in the particularly hard times that they're having. And so there's a lot of information that's out there that can be gathered to give us a path forward. But I do think it's going to take leadership from this arena, from the political arena, and not just rely solely on the staff to kind of pull together. You really have to have a couple of champions who can lead this initiative, and your staffs can definitely help you in bringing all the right folk to the table. But it sounds like to me it's political will. And how willing are we to step into that space and have those really hard conversations about, we have folk who literally, I just got a text yesterday from a young man, looking for housing in a 1 bedroom with 6 people. And you know, and so, and I get those all the time. And so there's the urgency of now. And then there's also the longer term conversation on how we make sure that we are growing this city in a manner that is cognizant of those who are being displaced. We were out on a tour yesterday, out in southeastern Durham. There have been almost 13,000 houses that are gonna be planned and are being built in that area, just in that area alone. And you can just about imagine who will be able to live out there, because you don't have any bus transportation out there. And so that's really sad. And I'm really perplexed as to how we have allowed that to happen in such a short period of time. And we have not been able to impact those who really need it.
I have one question. What my question is, given what Mr. Jacobs stated about that the funds are gonna run out by December, is that accurate?
We really think we have about 7 to 8 months left at our current spending. Now, we did, last January and February were really high months, like over 500,000. So we keep on this current trend, of no more than 200,000, we could go 7 to 8 months. But one of those, 500,000 months takes a big hit.
So does that give you adequate time to pull together the organizations that you need to pull together to come up with a strategy?
So, I think it does. I do want to caution, though, the Department of Social Services, this was not a mandated program for us. I was not here at this time, but our staff did a tremendous job getting this done. The only thing I caution is that I don't know if we are the best agency to take the lead on it, because we do not have the expertise. in our
I
agency.
understand that. I'm not giving this all to you.
No, I know.
I'm asking you as the experts, would that be ample time for whomever decide to drive this, whether it's from the political arena or staff? I think it's gonna take both. I think it's gonna take the political arena, it's gonna take the staff, and it's gonna take our community partners.
I think it will, if it's done quickly, I think everyone can get into the room quickly and start those conversations. I'm not sure that there would be an answer by the time this particular funding is gone, unfortunately. So I think there probably needs to be a look at what funding can be put in for the next few months until the end of the fiscal year to see, not nearly 26 million, of course, but if there's any funding that can get us through to June. Because as Kelly said, we're going by trends, and if we're going by trends, January and February are going to be our biggest months. And so we may be able to go to March or April, or it may end in February. So I think there's probably needs to be two things happening. One is getting everyone in the room and talking about this problem. The other one is looking at what additional funds can be put towards this problem to extend it for as long as we can to help people.
And do our clients that are receiving the money now, do they know that this is urgent? The money is running out? Have they been informed?
I will leave that, I believe they have been, but no, I can confirm.
Yeah, so for the clients that actually come to social services and apply for funds, our social workers are having those conversations with them in terms of that's some light financial literacy. And I guess this goes back to the holistic approach as much as we can with applicants that need assistance, to make sure they are making some of the right decisions that will put them in the best space to succeed in the future. So to answer your question, yes, the ones that actually come through our door, we are providing some social work, financial literacy component to some of the decisions that they are making in the future.
Well, thank you, because I'd like to see what, Councilwoman Freeman stated about a more holistic conversation as we go down this road. Because people need more, they need housing, but they need more than housing. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, share a few thoughts. One is, I mean, we know that people are on a spectrum related to where they are and when they're in a state of crisis. I mean, there are some people that they literally just need to get through a crisis and then they get back on their feet again. And so and some people it's, you know, they're disabled or there's something else going on. So, you know, there is a range. And our homeless organizations coordinate on this. And I think what I heard from your recommendations is that we're gonna have to be more strategic. We have to be strategic and also figure out how to prioritize the limited resources that we have. And so I think that, I mean, I know that there's a lot of knowledge in city staff that work in this area. You know, our DSS staff have certain knowledge too. I mean, we provide childcare, so, you know, vouchers, we provide food assistance. So we have a lot of resources. And there are a lot of things that the county is doing with things like our Bulls Initiative, where we're trying to get people into higher paying jobs, to Councilmember Freeman's point about trying to look at this holistically, but the data does show that you know, I don't want to lump everybody into a bucket. That, you know, we started the eviction diversion program years ago, the joint program, because of the data showing that it makes a difference. It's really important to try to keep people housed. On our way over here, I heard a story on NPR about school attendance. And one of the biggest predictors of whether a child's going to be successful in life is their school attendance. And school attendance has been down since the pandemic. And this was about Georgia, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. The pandemic's over. Why is there still a problem with school attendance? And what their study showed in Macon, Georgia, was that it was due to things like housing and the stresses that families were under, you know, related to financial stresses that were getting in the way of parents sending their kids to school. So I just say that to say that I think this is really critical. And that you know, trying to keep people housed, it has a lot of consequences. And I just hope that we will approach this with urgency. This is not, I want to, as the chair of the DSS board, I want to lift up what Maggie said. You know, DSS stepped into this role during the crisis, but you know, DSS can't lead it. So again, that's why I called on the city and county managers on this, for them to help figure out what the best strategy is, along with our community partners and people in the community. Absolutely, this should be an inclusive process, but hopefully we will approach it with a sense of urgency. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments on this particular issue? We'll turn to the second half of your presentation when we can get the technology going.
So due to time constraints, this program that I'm highlighting right here is a low income homeowner relief program. A successful program within the county. This is a type of collaboration with not only the county, but also the city. To provide a property tax subsidy program. the LIHR program, first began in October 2020. Last year, during our fiscal budget, we spent a total of $357,000. And which would be, this is a split allocation between the city and the county, 750,000 is with the county and 500 is with the city. Program guidelines, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but property must be within the Durham County. And also homeowners should be, have owned a home in a primary residence for at least 5 years. We do have some tier amounts for allocations, being 30% to 60%, 31 to 60%, 50% AMI tax bill will be paid. And again, 61 to 80% AMI, 40% of the tax bill will be paid. Those were current guidelines we recommended, and those guidelines were approved. The recommended program enhancements this year. We have continued to try to make enhancements to this program since the start. So last year we noticed a trend, so we did make some enhancements. We recommended that the program operate through the full year to provide some case management and more case management to all those applicants that's in the program. We did ask for a capped allotment increase of paying the full tax bill for seniors over 60 years of age and above. With the incomes of 30% or less AMI. We also wanted to provide some case management to seniors, disabled adults, connecting them to additional resources in the community and within DSS. This is helping to support some of the long-term initiatives in terms of aging in place for our senior community. We also want to increase our program outreach within Durham. We do have some target areas of outreach that we have noticed that there was a dip in applications. So we wanted to concentrate on 27704 and make sure we provide those outreach covering Bradtown, Campus Hills, downtown Durham, East Durham, Wellness Village, and the Lakewood areas, and also 27707. I don't want to bore you with all the numbers, but during the launch year, we received 339 viable applications. Those 200 applications were approved, averaging $714 assistance per household. By increasing to pay the total amount bill for those seniors above 60 in age, there would not be a tremendous increase in funding increase. So that's why we wanted to make those enhancements to that population. Data for households less than 30% AMI, an average of 107 paid applications. The average tax bill was $1,404, the difference of $331. By doing this, it would average in assistance increase would be $392. Increased spending, I'm sorry, the increased spending for the year would be $35,417, which we have enough to allocate that. Social impact, again, we wanted to improve the outcomes for seniors. We wanted to make sure this is a collaborative approach moving forward. And we also additional adult and senior support within the community. The LIHR program assisted with stabilizing essential housing for our homeowners throughout Durham County. This continued approach, is going to make waves in terms of helping supporting, the community keep their homes moving forward. Any of the programs to decrease will diminish the significant impact of home ownership in Durham County. So we wanted to make sure we continue with this. This could result in households' inability to maintain their essential needs, including medications, food, and transportation moving forward. Any questions? Sorry for going so fast, but.
Thank you. It was a great presentation. I'll open it up to colleagues for questions.
Just, so are we gonna need to increase the dollars on this program as well?
Not currently.
Not currently. That's good to hear. Most of the time that we need to increase the dollars. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Councilman Freeman.
Just a quick question, the 106 that didn't make it this year, do you know what kicked them out of the program, or what was the difference in?
Yes, either they're over their income, or they already receive a state subsidy. Those are the two high reasons for any kind of decline in the program.
And can you document that they've actually not like falling behind in their tax, like if the tax bill is fine? So even though they're not in the program or they didn't receive the subsidy, can you verify that they have paid their taxes and there isn't an issue? Like there's no delay or a lien being placed on them?
That information we don't collect after they're denied to the program. We do give them some other alternatives when they're speaking with the social worker if they're denied.
Okay. And so because you're in DSS, is there a way to connect the conversation with the tax office so that we could make sure that there's no lien in place, like that they didn't miss out and end up being on a roll for a lien in a different program?
I won't say it right now, but it's something definitely we can take a look at
Okay.
moving forward.
Thank you, that's all.
Ms. Shalom.
For around the program guidelines, I know we weren't going into the details of it, but just wondering, have we had any instances? I know when we started out the program, we actually started with a higher term length of needing to live. I think it was 10 years we had started, was considered long-term. And now we're 5 years. So I'm really glad we brought it down. We're just wondering, have y'all had any interactions of seeing like that there are residents who had been living in a place for 5 or more years, but due to financial constraints or costs separate from housing costs in their tax properties, had to downsize or had to move, and now that restarted their clock for 5 years? Have you seen that happening, or is that a concern that we haven't really had?
Yes, we haven't had that concern much with the applicants that have applied. I have not seen it. I haven't gone through all of the applications myself, but that's not a trend that we're seeing a lot.
Okay.
We are in a collaboration with Duke University, and they did do a research study on the applicants. So that started last year. They're doing it this year. So they are contacting the applicants, the ones that were approved and the ones that were denied. And we just use those data and that research to, again, come up with enhancements to the program moving forward.
And then my second follow-up, you had mentioned like when individuals, if they're not accepted into this program, you provide them resources of other opportunities, but for folks who are accepted in it, also aren't, do we have the resources and capacity to also, and you may already be doing this, sharing resource with them about, I know the Biden administration has several programs right now for low-income homeowners around like getting HVAC replacements, roofing repairs. Those type of programs, are we able to get that information out to residents through this program?
Yes, that is something that's part of the social work and the case management that we want to provide with for any applicants throughout the year that may have another need that come up throughout the year. And not just only focus on the low income homeowners. It could be food insecurities, it can be medication, it can be all those different things.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah, I just want to really applaud our staff, the social work staff, city, county, tax administration. To me, this is an example of a fantastic program that really works. I mean, it really, I don't know if we have submitted that. I guess we have won awards for this in the past, Deborah.
Yes.
Have we? I think we have won some
Yes.
NCAC or we have been recognized. This to me is an incredible model. Because and what I really love is that each year the staff is changing the program. It's very iterative. You all are working with the data and with the study at Duke. You keep every year you change that, you come back with recommendations based on what you hear from residents and what seems to be, what could make it better. So I really love that about it as well. We know that actually our seniors have the highest percentage of home ownership of any age group in Durham. And the majority of seniors are actually Black women who live alone. And so this is this kind of program really can have a huge impact. Letting people age in place and it's really not that expensive. It's not that much money. When you ask, do we have enough? We've got more than enough money in the program. So anyway, I look forward to what we learn from this year, and hopefully we'll get more people involved in the program as well. But thank you so much. And I appreciate the collaboration of everybody with this. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you all for a great presentation this morning. We're gonna continue on in our presentation since we're a little bit behind time, and we'll come back to items 1 and 2. I would pause as the Durham Crisis Response Center, Mr. Damon Kelly, is coming forward to present to us to call the roll.
A little bit behind, but we get it done.
Good morning, everyone. Chair Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Oh, sorry.
Here. Commissioner Arun.
Here.
Commissioner Burns is absent. Commissioner Carter is absent. Mayor Elaine O'Neill.
I'm present.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Jose Hyman is absent. We have County Manager South. Okay. City Manager Page.
Just
Okay. County Attorney Andrews. City Attorney Rayburn. Thank you.
Yes, and we have a quorum. I do believe that Councilwoman Rosenhammond and Commissioner Burns are alternate.
Yeah.
And also Commissioner
Mr.
Carter.
Carter, they are alternate.
Yeah, they're all.
Okay, so we're all present and accounted for this morning, and we will now turn our attention to Mr. Damon Kelly. Welcome to you this morning.
Yes, yeah.
We hear you.
Good evening, good morning, Mayor Neal.
Now we're having a hard time hearing you. The
Good
mic
morning.
or louder. Okay.
Good morning, City Council, County Commissioners, Mayor O'Neill. My name is Damian Talley. I'm the Executive Director of the Durham Crisis Response Center for the past 8 months. Would like to ask that y'all please excuse the brevity of my report. I put it together quickly. Durham Crisis Response Center is Durham's sole agency dedicated to providing advocacy, shelter, and support services to victims of both domestic and sexual violence. Our primary goal is to ensure that every victim is a survivor. Our services include our Durham Family Justice Center, our 24-hour shelter, the only one in Durham, that provides services to domestic and sexual assault victims, our 24-hour helpline, our community education and outreach program, and many others, from counseling, case management. DCRC by the numbers. Last year, DCRC sheltered 113 women and their children, answered nearly 2,000 crisis calls, provided advocacy, case management to up to 350 plus individuals. Also last year, DCRC, there were 197 bilingual counseling sessions, 508 calls to the Spanish crisis line, and 12 Latinx women and children received shelter. The Family Justice Center provided legal advocacy services to 1,169 individuals, while the lethality assessment program answered 715 calls from law enforcement. We also served 9 victims of human trafficking and provided rental assistance to 10 domestic violence referrals through our rapid rehousing program. Our current reality. In recent years, due to diminishing revenue from the Federal Crime Victims Fund, which supports rape crisis and domestic violence services across the country, DCRC is experiencing some of the deepest cuts that I have ever seen while doing this work. Over the past 2 years, cuts to our funding have resulted in at least $1.5 million to our operation. These cuts are further exacerbated by the cessation of COVID-era protections such as PPP and others. Due to these severe cuts, DCRC has had to make some incredibly harrowing choices to ensure that we are able to continue the life-saving work of our agency. However, the likely impact of those choices could not be clear. As you all know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. On October 2nd, DCRC launched our DVAM activities by hosting a reading of the names and silent walk to commemorate the lives lost to the scourge of domestic violence. 57 names were read. The youngest victim was 10 years old. His name was Nasir. He was killed with his siblings and his mother. The reality is these cuts are not just a matter of not having payroll or making budget adjustments. These cuts are a matter of lives saved to having access to the services that DCRC has provided since its inception, or lives lost, or lives saved, lives lost because we are no longer at the capacity to serve them. We know that the demand for our services, both direct care as well as prevention services, has increased at record rates. However, to maintain and build out our services to meet the growing needs of our community, you need the city and the county of Durham to sustain support. The ask for Durham Crisis Response Center in this body. Durham Crisis Response Center is asking this body to not only invest in our agency, but to invest in the community that we all live and serve in. We're asking for $250,000 to shore up funding lost in our most critical service area, the only 24-hour emergency DVSA shelter in Durham. We're also asking for sustained support as a designated line item of the city of Durham and county of Durham's operational budget. I recognize that this is a significant ask, but it's a necessary ask to us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talley. Chair Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Damon, for this report and please understand that he did have to get this, he got this to us quickly. We were at the reading of the names last week, and if you've ever done that, it is very, very unhinging to read the names of people that have been murdered. So to prevent that, we want to support him in having the resources that is needed. This is important in our community. And once Commissioner Jacobs and I heard that has lost funds from the state, we wanted him to come to this meeting so that we share that information with both boards to see what we can do to support. And we realize this is not a budget time, but I think we both have that kind of resources in our budget, in our budgets. And I haven't talked to the manager, but it's a conversation we need to have to take care of the people that really truly need our help. So I'm absolutely in support of that we do this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you did.
Thank you. Thank you for being part of our.
Absolutely.
Any other comments, questions from Mr. Allen? Commissioner Dick?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the 57 people in our community have died in the last year due to domestic violence.
Yes, ma'am. And to piggyback at the last presentation, domestic violence is also one of the leading reasons for homelessness.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that it's a mind-boggling number. It really is. It exceeds the number that people that we've just lost based, to other. I think the number, we're gonna have a vigil on Saturday for 50 people that were lost in the past year, but. And I know the little bit that I know from listening to reports from law enforcement is that this is the number one response for law enforcement is domestic violence. So I know we appreciate the work that you are doing with the shelter and also with the Family Justice Center. And we need to support the work that you're doing because that's the way we're going to decrease these numbers is by intervening early and getting people the help that we need. So this is really about saving lives. So yeah, I agree with with our chair that I personally support. I mean, that would be split your request, split between the city and the county is certainly something that we can afford. So I just want to go on the record saying that I support this. I would like it if you could give us more context about what is going on federally and state-wise with funding, so we can understand the kind of the context and also what we might be able to do in the long term in terms of working with our state delegation on this and even our federal representatives as well.
Absolutely. Ultimately, federal dollars, which fund GCC, which is our primary funding source, has been slashed across the board. This has been a continuing trend over the past few years. GCC had to make different choices, different priorities. I'll give you one example. Just recently, we lost $250,000 grant. Our underserved population, which previously had funded our Spanish helpline and our immigrant services program. Due to that loss of funding, our organization, I had to lay off our Spanish helpline staff. I had to eliminate that program because we, due to other funding cuts, weren't able to sustain it. Now, we were able to make shifts. We hired the necessary bilingual staff to continue to support the Hispanic population in Greenville. But that's just one result of the changes in the quick actions that we have to take because of these continued losses.
And the state, is there any state funding or?
That is the state one.
That is the state, okay, what about federal?
That money is funneled to the state.
Oh, okay, so it's passed through,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Any other comments? Well, we have heard your ask this morning, on behalf of the city, though that would. We've had some difficult times, in the last couple of weeks with trying to balance, some needs of our employees. Yeah, I could not speak on behalf of the city today to say if that ask can be met, but our city manager is here and I'm sure she will start to look at the numbers, but we would have to coalesce with the other council members to see how that will work out.
Completely understand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We now turn to the Durham Museum of History update. Mr. McLeod, the Executive Director.
Good morning, everyone.
Alright.
I'm Patrick Mucklow. I'm the Executive Director of the Museum of Durham History. And on behalf of our Board of Directors and our staff, I want to thank the City Council and the Commission for inviting me today, especially Commissioner Jacobs and Councilmember Caballero, Ms. Trapp, and Ms. Wallace for their service on our working group. I want to thank those of you who came to the opening and have seen our newest exhibit, Stranger Times, which was curated thanks to the participation of numerous DPS students, teachers, and administrators across the county. I'm here today to follow up and update you on the progress of our working group for a new home for the museum as we prepare to kick off our 10th anniversary celebration. In July, I met with the working group members to discuss goals and objectives, due diligence to assess feasibility for potential future MODH sites was recommended and agreed upon as a starting point. We received a proposal from Vines Architecture to evaluate 4 locations, 2 city-owned properties and 2 county-owned properties, 500 West Main Street, 505 West Chapel Hill Street, 201 North Roxborough Street, and 220 East Main Street. As the working group for the future planning is critical to the organization's future, our current funding request presented on June 13th is also important. While not part of the approved 23-24 final budgets for the city and county, this additional funding request originally submitted in spring of 2023 and updated in August is being submitted for review and under consideration by the city and county manager staff as an addendum or supplemental budget. Per the recommendation of the working group, I'm here to request support to jumpstart this project. Namely, the revised program study and site test fit studies for those 4 identified locations, and also for a full-time permanent development staff position. These are the numbers quoted to us for the revised programming, which will focus specifically on understanding and identifying programmatic needs for the new facility and engage select members from the Museum of Durham History and select allied partners and stakeholders. The second part of that would then be the site test fits, which will create a diagrammatic planning diagrams which outline how the programmatic needs, full or partial, depending on the alignment between existing available space and programmatic needs, can be arranged in the various buildings. And you can see that phase 1 would be the revised programming down to the site evaluation and analysis, and then we would begin the site test fits at the 4 locations. In addition to the architect fees to launch the project, we included other requests in it previously. Namely, exhibit and tech upgrades at the museum, and as well as modest staff increases. And it's my understanding that those are under consideration by the city and county managers and their staff. We're requesting the city and county split this cost. As an agile organization, we can implement every part of this request this fall and winter. Any delay until next fiscal year will set back future museum planning for at least another year and also affect projects such as the cultural roadmap and the rail trail, which are relying on our input. Our sister organizations in the humanities, education, and culture sector are relying on the successful history museum to support their efforts as we act as a community connector. And our partners in the tourism and hospitality industries are looking to us to establish the destination jewel that attracts visitors to residents in downtown. Happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mucklow. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, one, just to clarify that our board, actually, the county has already approved the $35,000 in funding for salaries. We've already done that. And so what's really before us is the development position. Just to clarify that, it should actually become self-funding, right? Because the person will be raising money for the museum, but also will be, you know, that's what development directors do. They also pay for themselves. So do you have any idea? Would that just be, do you think, more of a one-time expense, or?
I see it as a 2 to 3 year expense.
Okay.
As we've been ramping up, we have self-funded it in a quarter-time role. And we've already seen a 35% increase in our revenue just from having a dedicated person to do that. So
Right.
we are using this runway now, and we would
Right.
like to see it as a finite amount of time.
So, again, you know, these requests would all be shared jointly. And then related to the test fit study, I know that, just to clarify, that the city, you all are already looking at the police headquarters and this being one option of a location, and just for people to understand those locations. The other is the existing where the museum is now, which is is that the 500 West Main?
Correct.
Okay. And then the 220 East Main Street, that's the former DSS building that's sitting empty next to our building. And so, you know, one opportunity might be is that I know the county manager is looking at maybe doing an RFP for that. And so whether we could also incorporate that in our RFP process for that building, similar to what the city is doing with the police headquarters. That may be a way to get chip away at the cost for the test fit. And then the other location is our former the 201 North Roxborough. That's the Board of Elections, which we have on the ground floor elections. On the top is probation and parole. But we're going to be moving all of the Board of Elections is going to be moving over to the shops at Hope Valley. We're renovating the Kroger there to move all of the elections facilities there. So anyway, so I think that there also may be a way to kind of chip away at this cost again. But anyway, it's important that we do move forward with at least studying different locations to see what would be, you know, most appropriate, and to keep the process moving, especially as we look at things like the downtown Durham plan, like you mentioned, the bike trail, the work that's going around, Discover Durham, because not only is the museum important for our community, but it's important as we look at the important cultural resources we have and for visitors and for people in our community. So I hope that we will bring this back again to our staff to, you know, for the next step. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for clarification. Did I understand you say that we're looking for this money before budget cycle? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Correct, for fiscal year 23-24. Since we put in this request prior to the 23-24 budget.
I guess I'd need to understand, given that city is having some challenges with taking care of employees. And we just heard a request for money for people that around domestic violence. I guess I'd have to understand, how do we manage the request? So yeah, I just need to understand. And that's not something that we need to get into today, but I think there has to be an explanation of how we manage those requests when we've got urgency around the demands for people's lives.
I'll turn to our city manager, if she has a hand.
Good morning, Wanda Page, Durham City Manager. I did just want to clarify that the carryover request that the council just approved or is in our current cycle, it does match 50%. The request, I think it was $35,000. So we both have that in approved with the calculations and things we already have. The new requests that are being discussed today are not included in what we've already presented.
Okay, thank you.
Then the 76,000 here is an additional request that we would need to split. Is that
Correct. And we presented that, a version of that in the spring, in the form of architectural fees, which were significantly higher. And that's what then led to the conversation of establishing the working group, which came back with this recommendation.
Well, maybe the county can handle the entire 76,000 at this point.
I love you.
Thank you. Until we can see our way through. And that's our reality. Our budget is not quite as large, and not saying that the county has a large budget, but it becomes a little difficult in light of the circumstances that we now find ourselves faced with. And we all are aware of that we have had some challenges in terms of making sure that our employees are working every day and being paid for those services. So at this time, since that we've had an allocation already that's included as a part of the carryover, I would not be in support of it at this point in time until we can see our way through. But you only need 4. But at this particular time, that will be a hard ask. In light of all of the other things, especially coming after the $125,000 ask that came this morning as well from the domestic violence crisis response center. So we may have to look to you all this morning, Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah, I just want to kind of give a bigger picture. We know, I don't have the data in front of me, but the amount of money that we generate, just specifically, I'll talk about our occupancy, sales tax revenue. You know, the money that we generate from people coming to visit Durham, and spending money in Durham, it is what helps fund our budgets. So investing in the museum, even if it's not about, if you don't want to talk about uplifting and preserving our history and our culture. You know, that has a value, of course, but even just in terms of how we raise the money, how we have the revenues to fund things like paying our employees, it comes from things like our sales and occupancy tax. I think we just had a budget amendment for over $7 million from increased sales and occupancy tax this year. So I just want to make the point that it's important that we invest in the museum. I'm just going to be blunt. For a city like Durham to have a museum like we have that's in the facility it's an embarrassment. Great cities have great museums. And so this is an investment we need to make for our future. And it's an economic investment. I'll just be blunt about it. We need to, and as we look at the resources that we have, like I'm a big fan of the current building where the police headquarters is considered a very, it's considered a great modern architecture building by many people. Our former DSS building. I mean, these are resources that we have. And so as we are planning for these buildings, it's really important that we think about other ways to incorporate different uses for the future of Durham. So I don't think we need to be creative. If we don't have the funding right away for some of it, at least, like I said, you know, we're looking at our DSS building, you're looking at police headquarters. How can we still move forward? It's really important that we move forward on this. And again, to be blunt, this is how we make money for all the things that we want to fund, like our crisis response center. So,
If I may say, we do receive a third of our budget from the private sector, and they would be energized by the public investment this fall and this winter and into next spring. Right now, we are experiencing significant donor fatigue in the private sector. And for them to see that the public sector is stepping up would have significant value for us carrying over so that we could, they would see that they would be energized.
Thank you both for your comments. I'll just follow up and say, I don't think it's a question of on the city side as to whether we're supportive or not supportive of the Durham Museum of History. I think that we all, I've enjoyed my time here, and I do know that we need to increase in that space, but I also think it's embarrassing that North Carolina Central University is not represented in downtown Durham either. So there can be lots of places where we need to do better. But at this particular time, the resources of the city have been challenged in ways that we did not anticipate. And until we see how that all plays out, for my vote, I would have to wait to see how that's all going to pan out. We just voted on those increases just last week. As you know, most of the things that we're doing are based on projections. And so there's going to be an actual footprint from those votes in the next couple of months. And I'm not saying that it won't happen. It definitely can happen without me at this particular time, but I would want us to wait before we spend any more monies at this particular time. Any other comments? All right. Okay, thank you this morning for your presentation, and we will let our other council members know of the 2 requests that we've had today for additional funding. We now turn back to item 1, which is approval of our draft joint city county meeting minutes. And I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Second.
There's
Second.
it's been moved by Chair Harrington, seconded by Councilwoman Johnson. All those in favor, do the sign by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed have the same right. Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Our last agenda item is the 2024 joint city county meeting schedule. And if you look in your packet, the next actual meeting will be Tuesday, December 12th. Excuse me, at the Durham Board of County Commissioners at 9 a.m. in their chambers. And then for the 2024 schedule, you'll see it listed 1, 2, 3. Excuse me, you have 5 dates: February 13th, April 9th, June 11th, August 13th, October 8th, and December 10th. And I am prepared to entertain a motion to approve that schedule.
So, second.
Been moved by Councilwoman Freeman, seconded by our Chair. All those in favor, sign by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our meeting today, unless there are other matters. Right.
Madam Mayor, this is our last joint city county meeting, I believe, so I just wanted to say thanks, y'all, it's been real.
That's the last one for the year.
Because the December one is after the new council members and the new mayor gets
This will be the
on.
last for Councilwoman Johnson and I. This is it. It's Bob Swan phone. So thank you all. It has been real and remind you all, go vote today. So you have a voice and keep everybody lifted that's going through conflict. And with that being said, we are hereby adjourned.
Again, I just want to say thank you for your leadership on this board and in the community. It just, both of you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's now 10:30, October 10th, 10/23, Bull City and Bull County. All right. All right. You did a good job. You're all done. Thank you, Sam. So y'all been nice. Yeah, my Beyonce gave it to me. Yeah, he gave it to me. So y'all been not good. Forget about people down there with that field. Please. No pressure down there. I think he has a new chief of Al now there, and he has Helen Nicholas now. Yeah. And then he got a new secretary. So he got his whole circle of staff. I'm not sure who the secretary is. I always go through about him.
Maybe I need
She's I'm not sure. I think. I think I have it on. So I'll send it to you. Yeah, I don't think I have it. But I'll send it to you. Right. Yeah, y'all gonna have to get some other stuff. We gotta figure out how to make it so that people don't come in the middle of the year.
But that's what puts it on the agenda, because somebody has to put it on the agenda.
Oh, yeah. We're not but we still have to have a better way to figure out how when people come in.
Well,
Say,
and Patrick, he dropped it for the budget, remember, we and so he's not coming to us with anything new. We actually got the number down from where it was for the last study. But James, I think that he's new to the room and he's new in this role and like, he didn't, I don't think he knows our state delegation. Like that's something that maybe our delegation could have gotten on budget.
Yeah, but he's, you know, but it's like in everybody, he just gotta see how at least a way to go. For the city to have some money set aside. You know, like, it happens, you know, we just don't get it over there. And it's definitely-
You get a picture?
All
right.
I'm gonna get through. Yeah.
Right. With crisis response. I don't think. Cities are coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then we got 4,500 of them.
Right.
So they're trying to- You're not leaving your line. Okay, hold on. What's that?
Joanne, you want, okay. Wait till I'm not dressed. Well, you look, you look dressed from the top up.
We managed.
Very nice, very nice.